This is ACT Prep Basic Lesson 2, 1 and 2-step story problems. Let's jump right into this first problem. You decide to buy some video games in the bargain bin at Trader Moe's. The games are on sale for $15 each. If you buy 3 games, how much money will you need before tax? It's a pretty simple problem, and there's lots of ways of looking at this. I'm going to give you a way to look at it that maybe isn't as simple, because it helps with the problems as they get more complicated. You want to buy 3 games. And write that as a fraction. We're going to make this a conversion problem once again. The rate at which games are selling is $15 per game. So it's $15 for 1 game. Now the reason that I wrote the games on the bottom here is so they cancel. So obviously if you're paying $15 for 1 game and you're going to get 3, it's 15 times 3, which is $45. And that is none of the choices, so that means that I typed these answers in wrong. So we'll call this answer G, $45. Hopefully that kind of stuff doesn't happen too often. Number 2, while baking your favorite cake recipe, it says to use 1 1/3 cups of milk for every 5 eggs. So that's a rate, 1 1/3 cup per 5 eggs. Which one goes on top, which one goes on the bottom? That depends on the rest of the problem. If you use 10 eggs, how many cups of milk will you need? So you're going to be using 10 eggs. Let's write that down. Let's write it as a fraction. Now we're going to multiply this by 1. 1 in the form of 2 different things, a rate. We're going to use this much milk for every 5 eggs. So I want the eggs to cancel, so I'm going to put 5 eggs on the bottom. I'm going to put 1 1/3 cup of milk on the top. Once again, since eggs on top and bottom, it cancels. And to make the math a little bit easier, I can say, well, I can divide both 5 and 10 by 5. 5 goes into itself once. 5 goes into 10 2 times. So now I'm left with 2 times 1 1/3 cups of milk. So you can put that into your calculator, or if you know how to multiply this, it's going to be 2 times the 1, which is 2. And then when you multiply, it's kind of like the distributive property here. 2 times the 1/3, you multiply the 2 times the top number, but not the bottom. So it's 2 2/3. Once again, your calculator can do that for you. Number 3, gasoline costs $4.10 per gallon. That, once again, is a rate. I'm just going to write that down. $4.10 per 1 gallon. And you can write that the opposite way, 1 gallon on top and the $4 on bottom. When Gary needed gas for his Bronco, which is a sweet truck, he bought 9.4 gallons of gas. How much money did he spend on gasoline? Well, if we take this and write it down, he's spending, or he wants to buy 9.4 gallons. You can write that as a fraction if you like. We want the gallons to cancel with this rate here, so we want gallons on the bottom. So the gallons cancel. So you multiply the 9.4 times the $4.10. And that's going to be about $38.54, which is answer E. 1-step percent problems. If Jim had 50 ninjas and lost 20% of them in battle, how many ninjas were lost? This question is asking you to figure out what 20% is of 50. Percent means out of 100. So to find out the percentage of something, you simply multiply it. So we got 50 times 20% as a decimal is 0.20. If you multiply those together, you're going to get that he lost 10 ninjas. So this is not a multiple choice, so the answer is that he lost 10 ninjas. Number 5, Brennan received a paycheck for $200. From that check, he bought a Pokedex for $25. What percentage of the paycheck was used for the Pokedex? To figure this out, you take the $25 that he spent on the Pokedex and divide it by the total sum of money that he had in his check. If you put that into a calculator, that's going to be 0.125. So read correctly, that's 125 thousandths, which as a percent, which is out of 100, move the decimal places 2 places to the right, and you get 12.5%. Spent 12.5% of his check buying a Pokedex. This next one's a little more complicated. It's really an algebra problem. 7 dwarfs went to work in a coal mine. If these 7 dwarfs were 6 1/4% of all the dwarfs in the world, find the total number of dwarfs. So I'm going to change this into an equation. The word is means equals. Were and is are different tenses of the same word. So this is saying 7 is, because were means is. 6.4% as a decimal is 6.25. Of almost always means multiply. So times of all the dwarfs in the world. We don't know how many dwarfs there are in the total world. We're going to use a variable such as x. And I made a mistake here. .14%. Sorry. 6 1/4 is 6.25%. As a decimal, we got to move it 2 places to the left, so it's 0.0625. That's what should be here. So let me sum up this again. 7 dwarfs were means equals, so 7 equals. 6 1/4% as a decimal was 0.0625. Of means multiply. Of all the dwarfs in the world, we don't know what that is. We're going to use the variable x. Solve this equation. We're going to use the division property of equality, which means we can divide both sides of the equation by the same number. And if you divide 7 by 0.0625, you're going to get 112. The entire population of dwarves in the world is 112. Mike needs 5 pounds of nails for his cabin in the woods. This is a 2-step problem, by the way. He's comparing the prices of 2 different packages of nails. Dead On brand comes in 5-pound packages for $24. He needs 5 pounds. He can buy this for 5 pounds at $24. The Nailed It brand comes in 2.5-pound packages for $15. So, in order to get the Nailed It brand, he's going to need 2 of those packs, because 2 times 2.5 is going to be 5. How much money will he save by buying Dead On? So let's write down some facts. He needs 5 pounds. That's what he's after. If he uses Dead On, it comes in a 5-pound bag for $24. So if we use this conversion again, $24 is going to get him 5 pounds. Now, 24 pounds or $24 and 5 pounds is equivalent, because if you give them $24, they give you 5 pounds of nails. If it's equivalent, we can write it as a fraction being equal to 1, because when you multiply 1 times anything, you get that same thing back. Pounds cancel. So now we got 5 times 24. Pardon me, and also the 5's cancel, because we got 5 on the top and bottom. So we just have $24 for Dead On. Now if we look at the other brand, he needs 5 pounds. But the other brand, it takes $15 to get 2.5 pounds. Now once again, the pounds are going to cancel. So now we're going to have on the top 15 times 5. $75 divided by 2.5, and that is $30. So the question was, how much money do you save by buying dead on and ignoring sales tax? Well, dead on cost $24, and nailed it costs $30. So you're going to save $6 because 30 minus 24 is 6. All right, if you would kind enough to do exercise set 2 from the basic set, it would be greatly appreciated.